I'd like to welcome you to Creating Sacred Space in Our Lives. I am Tripp Martin, the pastor of Auburn First Baptist Church at the corner of College and Glen in Auburn, Alabama. And for this fall of 2021, we are talking about and thinking about what it means to love your neighbor, specifically by looking at the life and ministry of Fred Rogers, that beloved television host of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. As we think about what it means to live out our lives amongst our neighbors, one thing that we resist, at least at times, is slowing down. When we are driving around town and we see a yellow light, many times, instead of slowing down and putting pressure on the brake, we speed up, putting more pressure on the gas, trying to get through the intersection before the yellow light turns to a red light. But when we look at the life of Fred Rogers, whether he was at work or away from the television studio, he seemed to embrace slowing down. In fact, he was always saying on the show and to those that he would meet, that he would tell everyone that you are loved just the way you are. And he tried to take that lesson to heart. That in a world where speed and efficiency dominates, particularly in the television industry where budgets are based on studio time, that Fred Rogers took a different approach. He once said, "For me, being quiet and slow is being myself, and that is my gift." And Rogers tried to share that gift with others. That it was not accidental or haphazard that each and every episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood started with a shot of a traffic light flashing yellow, saying to all of us, it was time to slow down. That Rogers constantly resisted hurriedness. Like the danger of quicksand, the more you move, the more you are bogged down. That quicksand behaves differently. That if you move your hand quickly through it, it becomes hard, almost solid. But if you move slowly, it yields effortlessly. That freedom is found in slowing down. And Rogers knew this. He knew it was true for human development, for faith development, or even for social change, that it moves at the same pace. And it's reflected in the song that he wrote and that he sang for his show, "I Like to Take My Time." It says, "I like to take my time. I mean that when I want to do a thing, I like to take my time and do it right. I mean, I might just make mistakes if I should have to hurry up, and so I like to take my time. To tie my shoes, to eat, to get dressed, to sleep at night, to sing a song for you and everything I do. I like to take my time." There's a story told by Amy Hollingsworth, who is a journalist, who met Rogers and created a friendship with him. So they started to trade letters throughout the years, and she remembers a time in the life of her family when they had moved to a new city. She was starting a new job. Her children were starting new schools. In one of the letters that Rogers wrote to her, he said, "Just as it takes a tree a long time to begin to grow again once it's transplanted, so you can give your healthy roots time to find the nourishment of your new soil in your new community. That when we move, we are so busy. There's so much to do, things to worry about, things to accomplish. You have to change addresses. You have to get your new contact information to people. You have to learn your new job. You have to find your way around a new school. You're constantly meeting new people, and it's easy to lose sight of what is important or what is necessary. That Rogers was reminding his friend that, like a tree that's been transplanted, we need to give our roots time to find the nourishment that we need. That it requires slowing down. Because when we slow down, there is discovery and healing. There is hope and clarity. There is patience and discernment. There is grace and there is love, because these things move slowly as well. Of course, we wish they would move faster than they do. But if we can slow down to their pace, they come alongside of us and they guide our way. And along with moving slowly, Rogers also valued the quiet. That quiet or silence is the twin sibling of slowing down. As C.S. Lewis once said, silence accomplishes more than noise, especially when it comes to prayer. That the one thing Fred Rogers shouted the loudest was the whisper of silence. That he knew the value of stopping to be quiet. And those who worked with him called it Fred time, which was both a term of endearment and an acknowledgement of frustration. That because he insisted on the highest standards, he did not make room for efficiency. So when you talked with him, all urgency faded away, that you knew you had his full attention. And occasionally it meant that during filming, everything would come to a halt, that he would leave the set, the crew just sitting there with nothing to do, so he could go down and take the time to consult with Dr. Margaret McFarland, his longtime friend and expert in child development, and he would consult with her on how to present a particular idea to children, or to think through exactly what word or phrase to use, to imagine what a child might understand in what they were trying to present. That every detail was important, and he gave it the time that was necessary. Stopping to be quiet and to think through it all. Another story is about Dan Fales, who was an executive producer at WQED, whose days oftentimes got busy and oftentimes were full of crisis. And one day, when Fales was dealing with more than one crisis, trying to figure out how to manage it or to put out fires, he had 4 important phone calls he needed to return. He was just generally overwhelmed. But he got a phone call that there was a problem down on one of the production sets, and he had to go down immediately to tend to it, leaving everything else that was crucial and immediate as well. And on his way down, riding in the elevator to the 2nd floor, along the way, Fred Rogers got on the elevator with him. And Rogers could tell that Fales was angry that he had reached a breaking point. So Rogers reached out and stopped the elevator. That all of a sudden, Fales was now on Fred time. And Fred Rogers turned to Dan Fales and said, Dan, just remember what is important. Your wonderful family, your sense of joy, and that wit that we all like. I hear that you work things out very well. And after that conversation, when Fales got off the elevator, he felt much more calm and collected for the crisis at hand. Even though all we can do is manage time, we are still tempted to control it. That we want it to move efficiently, but as much as we try, it does not always work that way. And as Stanley Hauerwas reminds us, once we were no people, but now we are a people capable of taking the time in a world that thinks it has no time to do, in the words of Jean Vanier, ordinary things with tenderness. And Fred Rogers knew how to do ordinary things with tenderness. That it is, as Philippians 4:5 says, let your gentleness be known to everyone, which always requires us to slow down and to embrace the quiet. And this goes for all the ways of Jesus, for the ways of truthfulness, justice, grace, patience, hope, meekness, and love. Always require time. They ask of us to slow down so that they can come alongside of us and show us the way. Let us close in prayer. Gracious God, in the quiet moments of each day, may they reach out to us and remind us of the importance of slowing down. And as we slow down, may the ways of love, patience, hope, and grace be more evident to us. Amen. If you would like more information about Auburn First Baptist, it can be found at auburnfbc.org.